It is Tuesday evening. I want to say it's Friday, but it's not. But it is happy hour. And today is the Tile Happy Hour. And the Tile Happy Hour, if you found yourself here and you don't know where you are, this is the place where we talk about anything and everything in the tile, stone industry. And we started that a few weeks ago. And tonight is a night that we're going to continue it. And I'm going to bring on my brother from another mother up in New York City, Mr. John Tedesco. John, welcome to Tuesday night.
Welcome, Craig.
Hour.
Yeah, happy hour to you. Cheers to you.
Better looking. What happened, John?
I can't help it. I'm sorry. It just happens.
Good job. Good job. Well, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Yeah, it is strange because we did start this happy hour concept as a Friday night, right?
That's right. Oh, the drink cam. I removed my drink from the drink cam. So cheers, John.
Cheers to you. How you doing?
Happy guys. I'm doing great. It is Tuesday. So we've only had a couple of days in the tile world, but we did have a good weekend. Hopefully you had a great one.
I did. Yeah, it was great here in New York. The weather was great, and glad to be here Tuesday. It's like half the year is gone. I just don't believe it. It's just amazing.
It is. We turned over a new month. We hit June, and I can't believe it. My whole family's home. You know, my wife's a teacher. My kids are students, and now they're all in the house, and I'm trying to work around them. Everybody wants to take naps, and then they're making me lazy, and I'm like, I can't. I've got stuff to do. The tile world does not stop just because you're out of school.
This is true. Well, you know what? I just can't believe that we're at this time of the year. We're halfway through the year, 2023, coming out of how many years of COVID. It's just like it feels like a whole new world. But I do feel like this. I sense this, like, you know, the second half of 2023 and COVID's kind of in a rearview mirror.
The second half, we're ramping up, is what you're saying.
I do. I feel like we're going like in good places. And
you know where it starts? Right now.
Yeah, we're going to start
right now. And I wanted to just to throw in, because we got an exciting show today. I am very excited that Mr. Ron Nash is with us today. He's waiting in the green room right now, and we had all sorts of goodies for him in the green room. And so he's probably indulging in all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no, he's not. He's in his home place. We provided nothing. But before we get started, I want everyone to know this is your show. You're watching live. Drop your comments in whatever platform, Twitter, YouTube, snail mail. I can see them on my screen, and you will be part of this show. Do that. Now, if you're watching on a replay, it won't be live. I mean, we'll still be alive, but it won't be live. But we still want to hear from you. We still want to know what questions you have in the tile industry. And if it is a Ron Nash specific question, we'll try to get him to answer that afterwards. And I know he'll be glad to do that. But this is your show, right, John?
Absolutely. What I really enjoy is learning where people are from. So wherever you're broadcasting from, you could post that. Let us know where you're watching from. Last week we had some good surprises, and really excited to be here tonight. Really, really happy. I'm excited about meeting Ron. Haven't met him.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's get Ron on the screen. But I'll introduce him. Ron Nash is the COO and president of Laticrete or Laticrete. We're going to have that debate in a minute. And I've known Ron for several years, I think, and he and I can clarify when we met, but I'm not exactly sure. But Laticrete is the premium setting material vendor, in my opinion, for all stuff tile and stone. And Ron does a lot to steer that ship. So Ron, welcome to the podcast. It's good to see you. And thanks for taking the time.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Man, we're doing great. It's a Tuesday night. We used to do this on Friday, and Friday it was really kind of like the end of the week, and we're upbeat, but it really ruined our weekend plans. And so now it's like trying to bring that energy to Tuesday evening.
I'm drinking coffee right now.
All right. Well, cheers.
Yeah. Well, cheers. Cheers with your coffee. And
well, I'm taking the happy hour down a notch. But.
All right. Okay.
That's okay. John drinks enough other stuff for all of us. As you can see behind him, he takes his happy hour to an extreme level.
This is true.
Well, Ron,
wait, I want to ask. I asked other people where they're watching from. I don't know where you are, Ron. Where are you?
So I am literally in the center of Yale's campus right now. When I travel back east to go to my corporate office, we are 13 miles away from here. So I'm staying right now. If you were to see Yale, I'm literally in the center of their campus in New Haven. And that's where I live half of my life, actually, believe it or not.
And that's New Haven, Minnesota, right?
Connecticut.
I always get that wrong. Yeah, that's right. New Haven, Connecticut.
In New Haven, Minnesota.
I don't know.
There's two people in New Haven, Minnesota right now. They're like, yes, we exist.
We made it online, finally.
We made it to the happy hour show.
Now, I'll tell Ron, I think you and I met when you were the sales over, I think maybe the West Coast in San Antonio at coverings in probably the 2015, 16, something. John has been to every coverings. He'll mention that at least 4 times in this podcast. Yes. John, when was coverings in San Antonio in the 2010s?
That was a minute ago. That was like 2016 or something like that.
It never was there. I'm sorry. You think
it has been. No, it hasn't. I asked the AI, and it was like there and. But I think that's when you and I met.
No, I don't think it was coverings. I think it was just an NTCA event.
It was Surfaces Surfaces Vegas. It was definitely not.
Okay,
it may have been me on coverings, Craig. Yeah, that's
maybe it was CTDA. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, how long ago was that?
You became president in 2021, and it was before that.
Yeah. So my career at Laticrete. Let's see. I was over the West Coast in 2000. Oh gosh, I should remember this off the top of my head. So 2004, 2009, 9 is when I became national. 2010 in that neighborhood, and then I think we were at an event. I think it was an NTCA event that was at San Antonio, and that would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 2014, 15, something like that. Somewhere around there. I mean, but they all
Ron,
blend together.
They do. Absolutely.
What was it like taking new position at the crash of the economy in 2009? What was that like?
So it's pretty interesting, right? So I've had 2 major promotions just literally before some cataclysmic event. In 2009, it was literally like a roller coaster. You're at the very top, and everybody has their hands up, and we're like ready to go into the Big Short, the worst housing,
the worst economy in 100 years
ever. So I took over as a national sales manager. I have a very good friend. His name's Dan Liu, who not a lot of people outside of Laticrete know, but he's kind of a legend at Laticrete. And he said, he's like, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "You took this promotion." He goes, "The economic data doesn't look very good right now." And the way I looked at it is, I was like, "Well, hey,
can only go up from here."
Yeah, exactly. I got some excuses why I work things out, but
if we could ask you a favor, so you had said that the 2 times you got this new position, then something happened. Something happened after it was, or you took. All right.
Yeah.
So next time
my next was like we have the pandemic happens, right?
Wow.
And then I became the president and COO during the pandemic, and at the same time, by the way, we installed a new CEO and lots of restructuring and things like that, right in the heart of the pandemic. So we were crazy people, but it all worked out.
Well, what I think John is wanting to know is next time you get a position offered to you, let us know ahead of time, because we know bad times are coming.
Craig knows exactly. We'll sell our stocks that night.
We'll buy Bitcoin or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
So John and I debated it last week, and I think I know the answer, but is it Laticrete or Laticrete?
Okay. So I get this a lot. First of all, none of us are emotionally connected to the name. We will answer to all of it. And I've used Laticrete and Laticrete in board meetings. So it's not like
Okay.
But technically speaking, it is this. And, if you look at our company history, in 1956, a product was invented, okay, which was a mixture of latex and concrete, right? So locally available sand and cement. We know that product now is 4237 latex admixture, but it was sold internationally as Laticrete. So it's typically the correct thing is Laticrete.
Does the Rothberg family, do they like it to be Laticrete, or do they're like you? As long as you buy it, they're okay.
Exactly. I don't think anybody's really emotionally connected to it. As long as you have a smile on your face when you're saying it, we're all good.
That's right. That's good.
But I've noticed that there is a little bit of regionality to it, right? If you're from the Northeast, where we've been for 65 years or more, plus, people know it as Laticrete. If you go down to the South and certainly out West, it's more of a Laticrete pronunciation, but
I thought maybe it was just because it was my Southern accent, Laticrete.
Yeah, it's completely fine with us. But if you want to know the original, that's it.
Laticrete. Yep. I kept telling John, you guys, and John's background, I'm the technical guy. John's the sales guy, but John has held every hat in the tile industry, owning his own tile shop in New York. And I told him, I said that Laticrete invented thin set. I mean,
I did not know that. That's amazing.
The long and short of it. And
well, I also weren't you guys the first to make a thin set or epoxy or something to stick tile to wood? Was that something that you guys invented?
Yeah, totally. That's a great one. So we had so 4237 was a way that you could take a latex admixture and add it to locally available sand and cement and make a thin set. So it was one of the first thin sets out on the market. Then we had a product in 1966 called Latipoxy 210. Now, the thing about 210 that was really cool was that you could literally take tile and stick it right to plywood. Okay. And before that, it was not even possible. So 210 was that product, and it sold great. And then eventually the dry dispersed polymer technology, came into the market and overtook it, which is what we know now as your thin set product. You're mixing water with reactive materials, chemicals, those kind of things.
But was thin set like invented for tiles? I mean, was that the original purpose of a thin set, or was there some other? Really?
Totally. So,
was Laticrete the first to bag it together?
Yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah, the invention of thin set as we know it, like I said, was back in the day. You got to understand, most tile and stone was actually more relevant back then than tile. And the industry used to be all over wet set, thick bed mortar. So you're and people still do it this way around the world. By the way, it's not actually probably. Statistically, there's still probably more thick bed, wet set mortar going down in the world than still adhesives, believe it or not. In America, we start to think that we've invented everything, and
that's right.
It's like that around the world, but it actually typically is not. So when you look at what used to happen is you would use a thick mortar bed, and then you'd have neat wet cement that you would literally beat in your thicker stones to that. And it was very heavy and obviously very labor intensive and those kind of things. So the thing that's great about Laticrete, and back then the 4237 product, or we called it Laticrete, was that if we could get an engineer to understand that we can take a piece of stone and cut it thin rather than use a very, very thick piece, you could save an enormous amount of weight on a building. Yeah. Right. And some of our early wins, or when I say I really mean our founders, Henry M. Rothberg's early wins, were calling on huge architectural firms called like Pay. Pay is a massive architectural firm who built One World Trade Center 1 and 2 in the city.
Wow.
Well, part of the engineering from One World Trade Center 1 and 2 was that we could then use thinner stones and they could go higher with less steel.
Yeah.
And so,
but I don't understand why. But Ron, why? I didn't realize it involved the changing of the materials. Like it would almost be normal that thinner and lighter is better. So why would the innovation of a new setting material precipitate a change in material? I'm not making that connection.
No, good question. So the way that you would fight shock resistance, so freeze thaw cycles, expansion, contraction, those kind of things, you would need to have either an adhesive that was flexible and remain flexible permanently,
right,
or they would just make it super thick, like you would beat it with mass. So you're either a heavy mass that allows you to deal with those issues, or you provide flexible ways that you could adhere one product to another. And the great thing about latex, and especially the old school stuff, is that it never became rigid, so rigid that it would break and rip the tiles. You'd actually have the ability to let water penetrate it, freeze, thaw over and over.
Gives you flexibility.
And it gives it flexibility. Exactly.
Yeah.
So by the way, that principle still sticks today.
Yeah.
Pardon
I mean, that's the number one failure. I mean, we talked about this last week, is movement is the number one failure that I hear all the time. And you got to think, before latex additives, it happened a lot more. There was a lot more cracked tile. There was a lot more control joints.
You might be surprised. You might be surprised because you look at some ancient installations.
Right.
Really, what you found was, once again, they would beat this issue with mass, huge, very large, thick stones, normally very thick substrates, in some cases, different stratas underneath of them. So like sand strata, if you go back to, in fact, today I looked at a piece of art that was hanging at the Yale Art Museum today. That was literally a cutout piece of the gates of Babylon, literally the Macedonia, 600 BC.
That's amazing.
All together.
And by the way, it still looks beautiful. The colors are beautiful. There's no cracks in it anywhere. Well, how did they do it? Well, it was literally 2 feet thick. I mean, it's very thick.
Yeah. When I say history, I think just back to when I was born, like the 70s and 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, so in America, the one challenge here is that we build things with wood frame construction. Country, we by far use more wood than anyone. And then when you look at the flexibility of our substrates, the rigidity of our substrates, those kind of things, we put a lot of challenges on our own materials because of the lightweight nature of how we build in America. Whereas if we go to Europe, we go to other places, cement blocks, you've got poured-in-place cement is like very standard, very common. So the substrates that you're sticking to are very different.
Let's take it from that to a transition that John and I were talking offline to your inkjet buildings that are in my opinion, are the future of construction. Yeah, I know you guys have partnered with a bunch of different companies, and I love this idea. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we're continually looking for the trends in construction. What's coming next, right? What's coming down the pipe that we might be able to be important to, and we're looking for design trends that are going to be different. One of them is 3D printing of building materials, architectural features, and also in some cases complete and whole buildings, right? We have a mortar. We have a 3D printing mortar. Basically, like think of it like the ink for the inkjet printer. Yeah. So we make 3D printed mortar, and we have been part of some really historic projects. We've the largest residence in the world right now is done in outside of Dubai. Actually, a prince decided he wanted to build the largest 3D printed residence, and they did.
Damn, I wanted to do that.
John, come on. You're too tight. You won't spend that money.
Yeah. So the thing is, what's cool about it is obviously you have all of the features that everybody knows about. You can make any shape. You can do shapes that would be physically impossible to do with a traditional methods, form in place, or even block construction. You can make all kinds of different things. The challenge is this. It's not as easy as it sounds. A lot of people think, just click print and your home's done, right? Well, you're dealing with mortar that has to be able to print on top of itself.
I would think the cleanup is
collapsing.
Yeah, and getting clogged. I mean, I can't go through a print without having to clean my printer things.
And the clogging situation is not as big of a problem as it sounds.
Oh, that's good.
What is a problem is how fast can you print and have one wet layer. If you think about like corduroy, like corduroy.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So think about having one wet layer that, you got to turn around and print right on top of the other before it
skims over. Yeah. It's got to transfer, right?
Exactly. And you got to have these layers be able to bond together. So there's some real, technical challenges that our mortar has been able to overcome. But at the same time, of course, they want to do it for free. They want to be able to.
I think you need to paint some of that 40-37 around each one, and that'd be the bonding agent.
Well, you'd be surprised what we use for bonding agents, but the thing is there's some serious technical challenges.
Yeah.
That the industry is still messing with. We're still getting over, and that's before having the ability to build faster than the code and catch up.
Yeah.
Right. So there are codes and standards for every wall that's built in North America anyway. Right. The right way to build a curtain wall, the right way to build a fire resistant wall, the right way to build an exterior wall, the right way. Okay. So all of these codes have been written over the decades, hundreds of years that we've been doing this. Well, when you start 3D printing things, you're in your own.
It's a new realm.
World. It's a new realm. So this has to catch up. There's that. And then how do you do inspections, right? I want to print a plumbing chase around this, and I want to have an electrical chase around this. You can print it very easily, but okay, how do you access it? And then how do you inspect it? There's a lot of different things that just on the technical side you have to get right. And those organizations are not as fast as the innovation.
Gotcha.
Oh, sure. Well, just like with anything else, even back to TCNA and all the guidelines, we're still trying to figure out how to do thin gauge porcelains, right? We're still trying to figure out how to do some of these things.
Pedestal pavers, stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
But as innovators, you have to somebody's got to blaze that trail, or they tried to do in the 1920s. You shut down the patent office, and we just stick where we are.
You need to be willing to do. Here's the truth. You want to know the truth? You got to be willing to lose a lot of money. You got to be willing to lose a lot of money. A lot of people think, you just build a product and then, it's that mousetrap idea, and then the world beats a path to your door. Well, that's not actually true. When you're on the bleeding edge of innovation, you're going to go down evolutionary forks that will not live.
I think it's normally the guy that copies you that makes the money.
Exactly. So another thing.
That's actually why we have you on the show here. We're trying to do a little recon.
Yeah, recon, right? Exactly. Luckily, I'm not publicly traded, so I'm not giving any. I don't have any. Stock tips.
Okay.
But the big thing for this, and the fun part of this is we're starting to see a world that can open up a designer's imagination. And what I'm interested in is how is this going to augment and improve our living in the future? What can we do with this that might enable? And by the way, it's not just on the high side. Right now, most of the projects are on the very high side. The people can afford to buy it. But what the promise is that there are countries right now where people are living on a dirt floor. They don't have enough places for people to live. Well, there is an alternative path that would enable us to print homes for people who would otherwise not be able to have one.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, it's a very durable structure once you've built it, so they can have something, that can truly improve their lives. So
I thought about, I traveled with a group that does that last year to Nicaragua, and we built 6 houses in a week. And every day I was lifting these 18-inch by 36-inch by 6-foot concrete blocks, and I was going, "Where's Laticrete with that damn printer?" and shout out to the Hope Project, who does a great work. And I kept thinking to myself, how awesome would it be? And the logistics are terrible. There's no good way to do it.
Right.
They have no water. They have nothing, But I just thought to myself, you put one of those printers in one of these neighborhoods for a week with all the stuff, you could print 100 houses in the times that we got to do 6. Because the great thing that you just talked about, there's no electricity, there's no plumbing. It's just they need a floor to sleep on. So I love that that's part of the vision and the innovative and the thought of that to pay it back to the than the princes, that the princes want to pay for it. I love that hopefully
somebody helps pay for the innovation, right?
That's right. So, that's what I'll say. That their investment pays for the innovation to hopefully push forward the other things.
So Ron, do you see a day where there's going to be? I heard 3D printing. When I first heard about 3D printing, it was I think it was plastics, right? And I think that's the biggest part. And when I heard that, one of the ideas, and I don't know if this is happening now, like the military could kind of create a part for some sort of technology for a tank or something out in the field in the middle of the desert, and they could actually have a 3D printer on hand and actually create that part on site instead of, calling up Amazon, and having it delivered.
It may be quicker now to get Amazon to deliver.
Yes.
When you look at what they're able to print now, okay, and I don't have the entire industry, but I have enough touch on some of these things that it's an interesting bit. So composites for airplanes,
right?
Composite parts for like the F-35, where I live in Utah. The F-35 is a big part of our economy. And right now, I know that there are prototype parts that are printed in titanium, different metals, and those kind of things that they will be able to get to concept parts and then eventually figure out a way to manufacture them for real. So they're in concept right now. And I think that the future likely will be, obviously the military's one, but also the general construction of being able to print certain building envelope. Or building, not envelope, but building components, right? Might be a real a viable way. So every construction site would have a 3D printing area whereby they might be building spiral staircase. Okay, well, they built a spiral staircase over here, and then it gets hoisted into the actual, construction area that it's needed. So like more of a on-site, off-site construction. I see that happening. With parts, I know that right now there are composites. Like I said, there are certainly lightweight materials that are all kinds of lightweight materials, carbons, those kind of things that they print with. Right. I know that they print very fast with plastics now. There's some very fast plastic prototyping that they used to be able to do. Whereas, something the size of this cup used to take 24 or even 48 hours to print. Now they can print it in 3 minutes. So that kind of thing is making its way. And then when it comes to construction in our world, what I really like about it is if you're on that front edge of that, then you're also thinking, no one wants to live in a corduroy looking building, right? So we know what the material's made out of for the 3D printing. So
now you're talking the coatings on top too.
Right. So we've already got the finished systems are done.
And the MVIS system. And
exactly. And you might not be surprised, but it's all tile, masonry, veneer installation system. Yep. It's large format tile, your thin tile that would make this building look like it was made out of stone, but it's really not. It's 3D printed and we finish it out. So mortars that will flatten out the corduroy, so to speak, to make it prepared for doing the tile, so that you build a building that's 3D printed and no one really even knows it was 3D printed. It looks traditional.
It looks normal. It looks traditional.
That's crazy. Hey, Ron, I'm trying to wrap my brain around, when you say a printer, I know that's just a term for the machine that spits this out. But we're all used to printers being stationary, right? You have a printer, you open up the flap, you put a piece of paper, but it's stationary. So I could see 3D printing, spitting out some sort of cementitious material, building walls. But how does it look like? How does it maneuver? Like, and I know you're not necessarily the 3D expert as far as the machinery goes, but I have no idea how that works. Have you seen that?
So imagine that rather than it printing on the paper, imagine that you have a grid, a big square, for lack of better terms, a rectangle, that has how do I describe this? A frame around the 4 axes, right?
Okay.
And your cement machine, whatever's mixing the Laticrete 3D mortar or whatever, would be stationary, and then hoses go to a printer head that moves along a framework.
Like a track of some sort.
A track, so to speak. Correct. And the best, that really is how it works. I mean, it really is how it works. And so our magic that we provide is a mortar that can stay flexible and pliable enough to go through all of the hoses, print, adhere to itself, not collapse as you print on top of it. All right. And then we'll harden. I was actually going to tell you to go look at that video. There you go. We have a 1 minute and 4. There we go. That's when he's going to skip forward. This is exactly how it looks. But when you look at it on a job site, imagine
now my internet is running slow.
No, it's okay.
So there it is, John. There's your nozzle.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a million different, this is kind of early now. This is as innovation changes, things change super fast. Yeah, that's it. And
does that make sense now, John? It's a printer. Come on.
But
yeah, right there. I mean, he's just printing. Looks like almost just a simple block, but you imagine doing that on a super large scale.
Super large.
I want to ask you something, Ron. I know. I assume by following you online, I don't stalk you or anything, but you're an artist and you're a photographer. And well, you are. Yeah, some of the stuff you've done there is great. I mean, and
thank you for that. Thank you for the encouragement.
You're welcome. Again, please continue. And maybe one day you'll help me learn how to use my camera. But Laticrete's a big company. How do you see those two worlds marrying together, or is that just part of your downtime, or are they one and the same?
Yeah. So interesting, right? So. 5 years, if you don't mind, on that particular one. I started with a leadership program here at Yale, actually. Some postgraduate work here at Yale, studying leadership. And one of the challenges that my group had was take a skill that you had as a child and apply adult learning to it. Meaning adult learning, adult resources, the ability to spend money if you want to buy a lesson or equipment or whatever it would take to make that happen. So I started in with this that, when I was young, I wanted to be an illustrator, literally an illustrator. And my mother was an artist. And
what was your favorite comic as a kid?
I had them all. First of all, I had them all. I wish I had, in all honesty, I wish I had my collection. And these are one of those things that, you don't realize until you're much older, I enjoyed comic books, of course. Batman was my deal, and I dug Spider-Man, all those things. And I would literally recreate the panels. Okay. Wow. I would draw, I would get one, and usually it would take 2 weeks. I would recreate the entire panel with my mom's help. My mom would teach me what I do, how to make a stroke, what I should be doing differently, because she's a classically trained artist. Well, as you grow up, some of those things go away because you're trying to provide for your family and those kind of things. So this challenge 5 years ago was a big thing. And they said, the goal is that we all apply 10,000 hours towards what you wanted. And so it just so happens that the pandemic hit as well. And
Give you time.
I don't know about you guys, but being the leader of a business during a pandemic is stressful.
Yeah.
Not
I
gonna
can
lie,
imagine.
it's stressful. I'm happy to tell you that we never let a person go. We never had to take pay cuts. The ownership, the Rothbergs who own this company were so generous, unbelievably generous.
Wow.
Made sure that everybody stayed on, made sure everybody got paid, made sure everybody was good. But the stress was serious. We were worried about people's health and safety. And if you guys remember, there was all kinds of mess information, terrible information out there on those kind of things. So I started diving in every morning and just making marks in the beginning, getting the feel back of having my pen move again. And then I started saying, hey, you know what? Crap, I retained some of this, I'm not terrible. And then I started reaching out, and I had some virtual classes with some really incredible artists. And how I wound up getting in touch with them was the same way I would open up a new distributor as a salesperson. I was literally like Googling my favorite artist, and then I would pester them until they'd take me on as a virtual student.
Yeah.
And then I would say, here, I'll give you $1,000, teach me, And the bigger part is that you had a real professional who was looking at what you're doing, and they were saying, hey, you know what? This is good, but this is a little, try this, make more of these marks, do more of this. And then before you know it, your learning can really accelerate under those conditions.
Was this a Zoom environment?
It was Zoom in the beginning. And then as soon as I could travel,
right.
I started traveling and meeting with the same teachers and those and I still do, by the way. Wow. Meeting with those same kind of people. Now, I don't do it for anything but my own personal enjoyment. That's it. And it's turned into a form of meditation. And I know that people get weird when you say these things, but in my position, you have to have some way to vent stress. Mm-hmm. And if you don't vent stress, then you either have a heart attack and die,
right,
which is a serious issue. I don't like that. Or you wind up having issues with your interpersonal relationships where you don't know how to turn the stress off, and you just kind of become a jerk to a lot of people.
Yeah, other people get the wrong end of your stress.
Exactly.
So,
and with this, I started saying, this started to become kind of sacred time for me.
That's
and
awesome.
Where I really started to accelerate was that I found digital tools, iPad. I've made thousands of pieces on an iPad, and I just started making marks. And once again, I picked up my markers again and started doing
wow.
And it just really started to feel a way that I was communicating. Now, when it came to photography, that was just actually one was feeding another.
Uh-huh.
I started looking on what's good composition, what looks good, and then I started picking up the camera, and I've fallen into, not purposely, but I've fallen into portraiture. I take pictures of humans because that's what my business is, and that's what I'm in. So that's it.
Wow. Well, I think that's awesome. I think you said it, and I don't remember how long ago I read this. Somebody, they were kind of snooty, I think, in asking the question. They said, you must not work a lot because you have all this time for your art. And your response, I thought, was amazing. And I'm not going to quote you exactly, but you said, when you prioritize your life correctly, you have time to do the things you enjoy.
Wow.
And that spoke to me because as a contractor, entrepreneur, and all the things that I load my life up with, that resonated with me, and I was like, heart.
Yeah. So that is an interesting point. I'm militant when it comes to time management. I have an assistant as well. In fact, even this time we're on right now, who did you deal with mostly?
Yes, your assistant.
Terry, my assistant, right?
Yep.
So I have trusted people around me that help me carve off half hours of time that then I think about as precious units.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, this weekend, I was able to go with my family to a music festival. I didn't think about work one single time because I was able to be absolutely present. Now, in order to get that payment, I had to deposit work the week before that enabled myself to withdraw those hours back in a very clean way. We had a fantastic time. I saw Duran Duran, by the way, which was
wow.
I was a little bit jealous. I saw a picture. I was like, oh, that's my favorite 80s band. Did they play A View to a Kill?
Oh, yes, they did. 100%.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
Well,
when you were talking about doing drawing and getting the stress out, I visualized this scenario. I visualized, hypothetically, Craig being your employee, right? No. And he accidentally drove the forklift into one of the racks. And instead of firing him, you drew cartoons saying, Craig, you're fired. But you didn't actually fire him. You got the steam out, and the next day you put him on a different task.
And then it's my job to color it. To know that I was that close.
Yeah. Now color this, and if I like it, you can stay employed.
We see how you operate based on what you're telling me, but let's go like macro here. What is the secret to Laticrete? Like, is there a secret sauce, like overall philosophy wise?
Well, so I think there's a lot of things that really set Laticrete apart. And I've been thinking about what the real secret sauce is. And first of all, we're a family-run business, and a lot of people say that, and it really doesn't mean much. It's just kind of like we're a family-run business, and then they have people that treat everybody like crap. Right. but we treat people like family, and our family happens to be very dysfunctional.
Right.
Our family-run business has some really hardcore values, and those values are what drives us, and it's shared values of trust, communication, and passion and commitment. When you think about passion and commitment, if you've ever met guys, like if I'm going to say something, people in the industry will know this guy, Henry Rothberg. If anybody's met this guy, Henry Rothberg, he just passion about Laticrete is it just flows from this guy. And the real secret is we all believe we're changing the world. We really do. And our employees see that they're part of something that's bigger than them, and they believe in it because we are. We literally are. And we celebrate the times that we're able to make a difference. So for example, I love that story, Project Hope. What was it? Which way are you talking about, Craig?
Yeah, Project Hope.
Project Hope. I love
Hope
that.
Project. Sorry.
Okay. Hope Project's fantastic. So I was able to travel down to Haiti, where we build a library and we build a hospital. I went to Haiti a couple of times, and I don't change the world a lot, but I made a difference that day.
That's right.
That day I made a difference. And that becomes the flame that we kind of carry, and we allow our team members to experience that. And then
I've experienced that being a contractor and a vendor. I remember the first time I met David Rothberg was on a bus, and he and I had probably a 30-second, 45-second conversation. The next time I saw him was probably 6 or 8 months later. He knew my name. Yeah. And that's just, to me, that is what Laticrete's always been. And I've been a big proponent of Laticrete throughout my career, mainly for the investment that Laticrete makes in the contractors, because that's what I was. And anytime I needed help, I knew no matter what job I was on and no matter what products I was using, my local rep would answer my question and help me, because they cared about the industry more than they cared about selling a bag of thin set. And to me, that meant a lot to me. And I'm glad that you guys are a partner with us today, and a partner with Talbar. And I agree with that family values.
I've been my family. My dad was one of the first people to import high-end Italian tile to New York in 19.
You unloaded it yourself, I know, in Long Island. Yes, you told the story.
Hey, that's good.
Ron wasn't around for that story, but I wasn't going there. So, but I know when I hear Laticrete, I think of innovation and I think of education. Those are the two things I think of, and there's plenty of other setting material companies out there, and there's a few global ones like Laticrete, but there's that's probably 2 or 3 like big guys, right? And there's a lot of little guys, but I think of the innovation of course, starting with the 4237, right? And
very good. Yep.
And the 210 was it 210 epoxy? You said, I think. So
210. Yeah.
But back in the 70s, when my dad started this company, his clientele was kind of ethnic. A lot of Italian communities who came from Europe and who appreciated tile and stone, but tile wasn't really. It was really 4 1/4. Tile wasn't like sexy then, so that's when my dad started bringing in tile. So how much of a market was there for Laticrete for these high-end products? I mean, did you have to go to other channels? Was this only
countries?
Really?
Literally other countries. It's what's one of the really cool American success stories. Henry M. Rothberg, the founder of the company, he had more success, taking this technology in some cases to just literally job sites. He would literally take 55-gallon drums of this material to the marble setters down in Manhattan, and his kids, in some cases, David and Henry, by the way, there are pictures of them literally dressed in little suits and ties, making sales calls down on some of these major projects in the city and the subway, helping people understand that you can glue, this rather than doing this big thick set method.
Wow.
So the cool part about that is that
that is
they're tinkerers, right? They want to fix a problem. They want to solve a problem and make it so that more people can do the job. And I think that is, it's really kind of a cool thing. But when you look at our industry firsts, there's an enormous amount of firsts. Everybody knows 9235 waterproofing membrane, right?
I can't believe you guys are still selling it, because from what I hear, you can't get rid of it.
We can't stop selling it. 1970, the first thin cold liquid applied waterproofing, latex-based waterproofing membrane that was designed to go under tile and take a load. When we say take a load, meaning you could drive a car over the stuff and it would still be waterproof and those kind of things. That's 1970, and we still.
Well, let me tell you, the closest time I almost got fired was I was leaving Dow Tile with my David Allen truck, and I had a pallet of 9235 on it, and they didn't wrap it very tight. And, and the intersection where you're turning to go to the airport from Dow Tile's place.
I know exactly the intersection.
5 buckets fell out across the highway, and I just kept going. Well, there's $7,000 laying in the middle of the road. Luckily, only 1 bucket broke. So good job on your buckets. 1 did break. I got it. I got the bucket off the road, and people drove through it all day.
Yeah. And everyone got home that night safe. That's good. That was a fail. That was a fail. Yeah. And Ron, we do have a little segment on our show, and we've been so engaged talking with you. There's a couple of things that we usually like to touch on. So Craig does he walks into the local restaurant and he's looking at the crowd. He's looking at the bathrooms. He's just not paying attention to his family.
And now people email me. This is actually one from Stephen Wallace in Boston. So let's look at last week's Friday fail. So what do you mean lighting placement doesn't matter? Isn't that better? Designers, try to keep that light away from the wall if you want your wall to look flat and not have shadows that could be confused as lippage. Tile installers, install tile with the permanent lighting. It'll help in the final punch list, I promise.
Absolutely.
Oh! So what?
It was so good. He was playing it twice.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, and you know what, man, I wish this is something that we talk to architects about all the time, and designers. You got that wall wash that looks so pretty when you don't think about what it's washing down. And there is no, by the way, this is not an installer failure. There's really no way that you can make that wall not cast those shadows. So
it's obviously the Laticrete Permacolor grout's fault.
Yeah, well, at least you probably wouldn't be surprised. We do get called, oh, your grout's not the right color, and then you take your iPhone light and you shine it correctly.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good to me. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, 10 years ago, man, we could not get away from those wall wash lightings.
Totally.
I think finally it's called on that it's an issue, and which I'm not contracting anymore, so I don't hear it or see it as much, but it's amazing. And Steve was able to get those pictures with that light on and that light off. And I was like, that's so perfect, because you can see the difference in just what one light placement matters. So that was last week's Friday fail. There's something else we also do, and I'm pushing through this stuff because Ron values his time, and my wife is waiting for me, and she's bored out of her mind. So we take client questions, and I have 2 questions. Normally, my goal is to try to stump John with a question, and this one's going to be relatively easy. But we'll since Ron, you're the guest, we'll let you answer. Well, we had a client buy some tile. It was a large 32 by 32 inch tile, and they were asking, this is the actual printout, what size trowel to use for a 32 by 32 inch tile. Ron, what would you?
So, the technical answer is the right one. Meaning
now we know why you've
been here before. Are you John's? That sounds like exactly something he would have said.
One that will provide enough mortar for you to get 100% coverage. That's the actual answer. In that particular size tile, I've seen appropriate trowel size of up to half by half.
That was going to be my answer. I swear that was going to be my answer, Craig.
Well, that is, and that's our recommendation. And as you said, there's validity to your answer. It is the one that works. And
wait, aren't the half by half sometimes curved?
They can be curved. They can be curved or square. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and now they have the zipper ones, which I'm not sure, the Euro trowel, I don't know. But John, you may know that it is the setter's preference on what they want to use. But if somebody is installing tile, some of our clientele, especially our online clients, this is their first time. I want to give them the best chance of success. And I think the best chance of success for that tile is a half by half, especially in somebody that's not used to doing that day in and day out.
Can I give you a little? So we have a method that we teach new sales reps that come in, right? And technical services when they come in, when they're new. It's called the stack method. Have you ever heard of this before?
No.
I think Rob Smith I scribbled something down on a notepad about it, but I will say I don't remember.
Is it like a SWOT analysis?
Sort of. So the stack method is this: substrate, tile, application, cost, and knowledge, or application and knowledge. Okay, so here's the thing: what's your substrate? That's a really important question. Are you switching to something that's nice and flat? It's concrete. It's it's just perfectly flat, and we shouldn't have a problem, or does that need to be fixed? Do you have are there a bunch of bird baths and things like that you need to flatten out? Beyond that, then you start thinking about the tile. So once you get a substrate answered, you think about the tile. In this particular case, I have additional questions. What's the warpage in the tile? Because there is an acceptable amount of warpage in tile. So you got to understand, is this a porcelain? Is this thin? Is thick? Is it a stone? What's it made out of, and what's the back? Because that might indicate
it was a porcelain tile. So it probably had some decent warpage on it.
You're gonna have some natural, understandable, acceptable warpage that you're going to need to take care of. All right, but understand that the adhesive, even though in this particular case you would naturally use a large and heavy tile mortar, which we old school used to call medium bed mortar.
That's right.
The reason why we stopped calling it a medium bed is because it's not a bed.
Yeah,
it's an
and people do it every day.
Right. And so what they would do is say, well, this is a really big tile, so I want to put a whole lot of glue down.
Yeah.
And depending on the glue that you bought, you may have stuff that you can go up to 3/4 of an inch thick with, or you could have stuff that starts to warp and crack and pull away from the tile if it's over a 1/2 inch thick. So in order to do this job correctly, the trowel is one answer, but you have to understand all of the other things and have an answer for that, because then I might say, okay, listen, you're going to have the best results with a half by half trowel, but you're also going to have to consider an adhesive that is built for the tile that's that size. So look for an LHT, or large and heavy tile mortar, to do that. For my favorite one that we sell right now is called Multimax Light. I think it's unbelievable. It's
Tri-Light's my favorite.
Tri-Light is an excellent option for this. There's another one for XLT, or even if I'm going to concrete substrates and those kind of things, we have some that are basically called LHT mortars. So
yeah, we only carry 3. We stock LHT plus, Tri-Light, and Multimax. Those are, and glass tile, but those are the 3 we use, because we know if somebody is a novice and they're just on there clicking and buying, they're going to get, it's hard. It's going to be hard to fail if we suggest Tri-Light.
Margin for error is what you buy. When you buy higher end materials, you buy more margin for error.
I teach that to our team. I tell them there's things you work in the margin. Everything has a margin, and there's the easy things that you need to make sure you take care of. Taking care of the substrate is easy. Taking care of the right mortar is easy. Picking the right trowel is easy. Doing the job, if you've never done it before, is not the easy part. So take care of the easy stuff and let your margin all be in the process.
You know what? Where I really appreciate Laticrete, many places, but where you're so important is glass tile is such a technically challenging product, because there's so many different types of glass. And when it first became popular, it was kind of a fad, and now it's solidified as something that's going to be here forever. And the challenges with glass installation are tremendous. And I actually talked about a new product, a glass product. I don't know, do we have that?
I was wondering if that was your transition. So here, let's look at this real quick.
Hey, it's John Tedesco. Guess what? It's Friday and it's happy hour all day here at Tile Bar Studio. This is a really nice glass line. So this is a 12-inch sheet, but as you see, it's actually individual, but these big chips of this glass, it has like dimension in it. And this red is just on fire. This is beautiful. This is called Glam, and for good reason. And there are many colors in this format, but this is just one color, just teasing you with. And then this is called French, which each 3-inch square is actually made up of 2 pieces, a lot of dimension. Look at the movement, look at the depth, the sparkle of the glass, even the sparkle of the grout. We even put some really cool grout in there. This also comes in multiple colors. So this is a brand new series of glass. Of course, it's only good for the wall. It's live on our website. Check it out. Order samples. This is John Tedesco. I'd like to wish you a happy hour.
John, that was a good looking tile. Is that going behind your bar there?
That's a good idea, actually. So Ron, so what were the original challenges with glass setting materials?
So we made a bunch of glue that was never designed to be seen again. That was the original. Really? Our you gotta look at most of your adhesives were designed to go under opaque things that you're never gonna see again.
So if a white glue turned yellow later, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter, but it does with glass tiles. So glass tile adhesive, first of all, we named it right.
Yes.
You don't have. What's it used for? I have no idea. It's called glass tile.
You won't believe how many people text me and say, "I'm looking at the website. Which one do we use for glass tile?" I'm like, "We have 4 thin sets, and one
must
of them
be the LVT. It must be the LVT glue that you use.
Yeah.
Come on, people."
So GTA, we call it GTA, is like a little, there's 2 things that are really big for it. Number one, you have a lot of time to work with it. So in the bucket, you have like 4 hours. Okay. Once you mix it up, you have time to think, because glass is very technical, very, very technical. If you're going to make it look right, you've got to really spend your time. So there's one thing. And then the next thing is it's as white as my shirt. It's super white. And so that enables us to do some cool things. First of all, you can leave it will really make your glass pop. If you have a glass that you can see through, any of the colors that would be on the glass really show perfectly. You're not trying to hide a gray or darker adhesive. But then the next thing that's really kind of a secret tip here, you can also take Permacolor Select pigment packs and pigment the adhesive. So you could have 40 colors of adhesive, in order to, make it so that if you have any bleed through or whatever, it would match the glass or be complementary to the grout or whatever. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with that product, but glass is the future. I love glass. It's
I will say the one thing it also is a beast. I did some tests last year in our sample department trying to find something that would stick to some of these poly things that we send out as samples. And so we tested Multi-Max. We actually tested 145, the one made out of tires. I can't remember.
Oh, 125. Yeah.
125 and the glass tile adhesive. You could not get that stuff off of, I was sticking it to plastic and it would bond anything. It was amazing. And so
super sticky.
Super sticky. We've run out of time. Ron, what is, if you want anybody to know anything about Laticrete that they may not know or have never heard before, how about you leave us with that?
Wow, interesting. Okay, so this is a tough one. First of all, always keep if you want to get to know us a little better, we do have a Facebook group. It's called Laticrete Inside Track. I actually started this thing. If you want to talk to me or real human beings that work at Laticrete, join Inside Track. I try to keep it really fun there. It's definitely professional environment. So join there. That's great. And then we're one of the only companies that still is only focused on tile. Do you ever notice that? We are laser focused on tile and things that look like tile. So masonry installation systems really is just tile. It's just they happen to have been installed by masons, but we're really focused on this world. And so that means that it's important for us. When you think about other manufacturers in the world, we're an American company that is working on nothing but trying to improve the lives of the people who get to experience our products and make that little 1% incremental change in the construction industry faster, better, more longevity. That's what we're about. And we love our customers. We really do.
This is really, I thought I knew a lot about Laticrete, and I realized tonight that I didn't, and everything I've heard is just amazing. It's really nice to meet you, Ron, and I'm so glad we'd like to have you back one day, because there's a lot of just like meat and potato stuff we want to talk about. We got high level 3D printing in Ethiopia, and how do we go start talking about metal trim and sealers?
Sign-ups tomorrow. Seems
like we would regress and talk about all that basic stuff, but us being tile nerds and tile geeks and all that stuff, we were actually are interested in all that stuff as well.
Can I give a shout out?
Absolutely.
So I just got a text message from Henry Rothberg himself. He said he loved the show and he loves you guys, and he says hi to all the customers out there. And so this is what I'm talking. This is what I'm talking about. We have one of the owners watching this show right now. It's really a crazy place to work, and I'm
that's great. What's up, Henry? I've in Facebook throughout the years, the last decade, just every few years, we just touch base on something like a hello or something like that. So I feel like I know him more than I've actually met him. But
I have one regret with Henry. I heard he used to have the best boat rides from Florida to the Bahamas, and he doesn't do that anymore.
Totally. Wow. It's called the True Blue. The True Blue.
I was like, I kept talking to her every time I was like, how do I get on this boat ride? I was never able to do it. So Henry,
they kind of told you they don't do it anymore. They said they don't do it anymore.
His boat sank, Craig. I don't know what to tell you. Henry will do the podcast from the boat.
I don't own a boat.
Yeah, right. So guys, there's not a lot of places there's probably a lot of places to put a boat in Utah, but not a big boat.
No, not at all. Well, this has been amazing. We're so glad that you were part of the Tile Happy Hour. This is a weekly broadcast live on many platforms. So if you're watching this live, it's still a moment to put a comment. But if you're watching this on a rerun, put a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have a question for me or anyone at Laticrete, please let us know. We'll see you next week. This is John Tedisco, and I'd like to wish you peace, health, and happiness.
I want to say thanks to Ron for jumping in and joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you, Laticrete, for making him available. We value his time, so we're going to let him go. But we're always going to keep learning together, and we're going to tile the world. Bye.